Welcome back, Patriots, to the Bald Brad Show. It is August 8th, and we are just one day closer to this upcoming election. A lot of people are saying it's the most important election of all our lifetimes, and we're of different generations. It very well might be true with what's going on around the world, with what's going on domestically. Well, folks, we got to get out and vote for whoever it is you're going to vote for. But I think because we're Patriots, I mean, let's be fair. A lot of us are going to vote for Donald Trump. Maybe some of us are not just going to vote at the top of the ticket because we got some independents in here. We got conservatives, Republicans. We got a little bit of everything, maybe a sprinkling of Democrats. But I couldn't be more than happy to spend this fine morning with all of you. As always, Patriots, welcome back. If you're new to our channel, welcome. We have a lot of Patriots in the live chat, both on Rumble, YouTube, and Twitter. Choose which one. We would love to have you join our community. It is absolutely free. You just got to come in, hang out, and write a bunch of whatever you want in the chat. Let's jump into the news today, folks. Yesterday, we didn't even get through everything. Yesterday, I didn't even get through half my show. So we got a lot of updates. We got the White House press briefing. And Tim Walz, I guess, has some stolen valor that we're going to break into. I said I wasn't going to cover it yesterday, but it went bonkers on the news. So we got to make sure we jump into that and make sure we're prepared with all the major headlines. Now, this first one, I always like to start off a little bit of fun, a little bit of some funny stuff, some clips here while everybody kind of joins in and gets into the live stream. So Kamala Harris just made her first presidential style decision, which was Tim Walz, who we've covered yesterday. If you didn't watch yesterday's episode, I really do think it's one of our better episodes. We went through in detail who that guy is and the psycho stuff that guy is for. We spent an entire hour going through some of that guy's stuff, and I still didn't go through everything. There's so much stuff. So we're going to cover a little bit of that today. So she may or may not be ideological, folks, but she showed which wing she ultimately caved to, and it is the progressive left. We got our man, Vivek, here on Waters World. Let's roll it.
Dynamic of this race, Vivek.
The reality is, to be totally frank, the last few weeks have not been our best, Jesse. This gives us the reset that we needed. This is a gift from on high from the Democratic Party. It is also a lens into how Kamala Harris will govern. Unlike a lot of other people, I don't think Kamala Harris is particularly ideological. I don't think she has far-left ideology. I don't think she has any ideology. But it shows how she's going to buckle to pressure, because this was the first presidential-style decision that she had before her. Do you want a governing agenda of a centrist who I disagree with on a lot of things, but Josh Shapiro, or do you want to buckle to the cave of pressure from the radical left? She made the choice. And so I think this is our best lens to see how she's actually going to govern.
He's correct.
The reality is the vice president is far less relevant. He's not going to be the one setting policy. The reason I actually find this decision fascinating is it gives us a lens into the way Kamala Harris makes decisions. And the reality is she buckles to the person who ultimately puts the most pressure on her. That's what we learned today.
Well, it makes sense why she would choose this particular candidate and buckle, because she's a puppet, just like Joe was. She's more of a puppet than Joe Biden is. And these elites, these bureaucrats, the deep state knows that she's going to sit there and do everything. If they say jump, she's going to say how high. She needs somebody that's just as radical as the deep state and these bureaucrats, the managerial class that's basically running the show that's not even elected. It makes sense why she chose the guy.
Today, this was a gift. It resets the race, and I think we are on path back yet, once again, to a victory, because Pennsylvania could back again be in play for Republicans.
Yeah, you're right. Shapiro definitely was going to help with Pennsylvania. He doesn't help anywhere. They say he helps with the Midwestern white man. Are they going to buy this guy that wants to give boys tampons in fourth grade?
Tampon Tim.
The reality is this is a guy they're pitching in completely the wrong way as some type of Midwestern unifier. First of all, you can't be the unifier while also leading the charge on calling 70+ million Americans weird in his term. And the reality is we have a much stronger case in return if we want to play that game. Boys versus girls, can't define the difference. Boys competing with girls in women's sports competitions, even taking away your gas stoves. He's actually been one of the greatest climate alarmist governors in the United States on the left or the right. So if we wanted to level that charge in return, we have a stronger case. But the reality is he can't be a unifier, but also somebody who's alienating 70+ million Americans as just plain weird, as he calls it. The other thing is it's just one Potemkin village of identity politics, Jesse. The Democrats, it's almost as they don't look at the actual content of the candidates they put up.
Yes.
They realize it had to be a...
Thank you. This is what we were saying yesterday, right? When they walked out initially, Tim and Kamala, everybody was just going berserk. Yeah, hell yeah, this is the best ticket ever. And we said, like, you don't even know who this guy is. You've never even heard of this guy until like 24 hours ago, and you're all bonkers over him.
A black woman in the vice presidency, now the presidency. That's exactly the reason Kamala got her job. But having checked that box, now they need to revert the other direction,
right?
Which is the Midwestern, folksy, white guy of a regular type. And the reality is when they stop giving positions out on the basis of merit and start using these group quotas in either direction, they end up with the worst of all worlds, and that's what this ticket represents.
The Minneapolis...
I mean, is Vivek not spot on here, guys? With everything? Hey, what's going on, Dylan? Good to see you in the chat, brother. Everybody get a shout out to Rumbo Dylan. We love the man. But he's not wrong. I mean, the identity politics, what we covered yesterday, and I mean, dude, the guy allowed his cities to burn down during Black Lives Matter. This guy wanted full abortions where, look, I was pro-choice the majority of my life. He wanted to the point, and he voted for this. We covered it yesterday again, to where if you survived an abortion, he still wanted the baby to be killed. I mean, the list goes on and on. So check out yesterday's episode if you haven't already. Wild.
Riots. That's going to be front and center in this campaign. It's going to be about the economy. But remember in that summer what happened. He let that city burn. He let it burn and then blamed America for the fact that it burned.
Correct.
Why would she pick someone like that on the ticket? Why?
Well, the fact of the matter is she wasn't making a sound decision, but there's three issues that matter in this election, Jesse. Immigration, economy, crime. On economy, he raised taxes, shows you what he thinks about economic growth. On immigration, he wants to build a ladder over the border wall.
Let's pause that for a second, because you have the Trump's tax cuts that are expiring. Kamala Harris has already said she wants to raise your taxes to 70 to 80%. I've heard rumors and sprinklings of 90%. You can't do that with the inflation that we just had. Yes, inflation's around 3% right now, was 9.1% at a 40-year high. You have to make $15,000 more under Joe Biden and Harris administration right now than you did under Donald Trump. It's only going to get worse. She wants to get rid of fracking. She wants to get rid of the fossil fuel industry. She wants to implement the Green New Deal. You need a VP candidate that can get behind something so radical. Quite frankly, Shapiro dropped out. He was even going, whoa, this is too radical for me. He's more moderate than Tim Walz and Kamala Harris. Remember, she's the most left radical person in all of the Senate when she was in there. So she needs somebody just as radical as her. Hard to find, folks. This dude was all for his freaking city burning down. Did you all read that article a while ago? This was sick. I just found this out yesterday. Tim Walz's wife, when the city was burning down, opened up her window. She's quoted as saying this. I actually should have brought the receipts with me. I'm just thinking of it right now. She quoted as she wanted to smell the burning rubber and tires from the city. So she opened up her windows so she could waft it in. How sick and sycophant is that?
And give free health care and taxpayer-funded subsidies to migrants. And on crime, that's really where the George Floyd riots come in. This is not turning America into St. Paul or Minneapolis. That's what they want to do. We say no. We have a clear choice to do it in the ballot box in November. And I think this is now our race to lose. Let's step up, focus on our agenda. And if we do, we win this thing once again.
And I think JD is going to wipe the floor with Tim. I think JD is going to wipe the floor. I think Kamala Harris is a politician, very similar to what we see AOC. Her style and her demeanor, I think, is going to be tough to combat. So I think the Trump-Harris debate, if we have one, remember the Fox News one's supposed to be September 4th. Kamala's going to back out, or I guess already did back out. I don't think we're going to get that ABC News interview with George Stephanopoulos quasi-debate. I say interview because it's just going to be questions, hardball questions going up against Donald Trump and not Kamala Harris, which we typically see from the media. And mind you, we are on day, was it 18, I believe, of Kamala Harris not taking a single hard question from any media source. And we'll get to that in just one second, because JD pulled the freaking ultimate troll yesterday by landing at the airport, pulling his plane alongside Kamala Harris's, walking over and trolling her. We'll get to it in just one moment, folks. But there's this clip here yesterday that was going viral. It really has nothing to do with today's show, but I always like showing at the beginning a funny clip of Joe Biden. So it was asked the question by CBS News, are you confident that there will be a peaceful transfer of power in January 2025? And the dude goes, if Trump wins, no, I'm not confident at all. This guy, he's just not there. He's not with us.
Are you confident that there will be a peaceful transfer of power in January 2025?
If Trump wins, no, I'm not confident at all.
What? Hold on. And what?
Trump wins, no, I'm not confident at all.
I'm sorry, Joe. Oh, Joe, my ears are clogged. What did you say, big guy?
I mean, if Trump wins, no, I'm not confident at all.
Oh.
I mean, if Trump loses, I'm not confident at all. He means what he says. We don't take him seriously. He means it. All the stuff about if we lose, there'll be a bloodbath. Have be a stolen election. Look what they're trying to do now.
This is what they do.
In the local election districts where people count the votes. They're putting people in place in states that they're going to count the votes, right?
Does he have a note card in his hand? I didn't even notice that when I looked at the clip originally. Does he have a note card in his hand? Talking points again? Jesus. It's only going to get worse under Kamala. It's like, if I was to equate this to anything, it would be when Jen Psaki, the prior White House press secretary, took over. And she was like, I'm going to put in this lady named Jean-Pierre. She's a DEI hire. She's a black lesbian that's going to sit there and answer all your questions. And I said, yo, she's going to be the worst. She's going to be worse than Jen Psaki. She sucks. And exactly what it was. So a little bit of good news before we roll into, quite frankly, the bad news in a little bit. And that would be yesterday's White House press briefing and the day before. Is Virginia removes 6,000 citizens, non-citizens to be specific, from their voter rolls. Now, if you recall, the GOP is suing Nevada, Pennsylvania, and I believe Michigan for not cleaning up their voter rolls. And those are big states. If you recall, in the 2020 election, Nevada had people voting from properties that didn't even exist. What I mean by that is there used to be a house there. There used to be some sort of building there, apartment complex. But if you were to physically walk there yourself, you would find dirt. Actually, you'd be looking at a mountain range and you wouldn't see it would be like you driving on Route 66. There ain't nothing there. Or people were voting from locations that they no longer lived at. They may have moved somewhere else, blah, 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 which is all illegal, by the way. So they don't want to clean up any of their voter registration rules. So we keep having the past few states that we covered cleaning up ours, but they're not cleaning up theirs. Because, I mean, that's the goal, right? To have non-citizens vote, which is why we covered, if you look at the state of California's application to become a registered voter, you don't have to show any proof. We covered that here on the show. We got a lot of new people following us. Welcome, Patriots. Couldn't be more than happy to have you join us. Join us in the live chat. We got a lot of conservatives, Republicans, and some independents in there. I'd love to hang out with you. Hit that follow button if you want to join us. We go live each morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time to bring you the news. If you like Dan Bongino, we run a very similar show here. We like the ship that Dan runs. And so what they were doing is not cleaning up their voter registration rules. I don't even know what I was saying prior, but you understand what I'm going with here. So we have here an executive order instructing the Department of Elections to remove non-citizens who may have purposefully or accidentally registered to vote. As I was mentioning previously, California, Texas, and for sure Arizona, we all look together at the application process, and you don't have to be a citizen to sit there and actually show proof of citizenship to vote. So look at this. Pursuant to the order, state also identified and removed voter rolls of basically 80,000 deceased voters, potentially Democrat voters. If you recall, in 2020, Democrats voted for this guy, meaning Joe Biden. The most popular president in American history since the founding of this country, and they dropped the dude. The Virginia model for election security works. This isn't a Democrat or Republican issue. Does anybody believe that? Come on. I'm not saying it hasn't happened on the Republican side, but it's pretty much a Democrat issue. Come on. Youngkin said in a statement, every legal vote deserves to be counted without being watered down by illegal votes or inaccurate machines. That's not what the Democrats think. Remember, the SAVE Act came out and it said, hey, you need to execute the laws that are already on the books, and Democrats aren't willing to do it. And that's why there's lawsuits, but we'll see what actually comes of that. So yesterday we talked about the White House press briefing a little bit. And jean-pierre always comes out with a sprinkling of nonsense. Sometimes not answering anybody's questions, but giving some sort of question. She's the lady with like the 10-inch binder that somehow has every answer to everybody's question, but we never get that answer to anybody's question. So here she is where she says Kamala has been a critical partner in Biden's failures over the past 3.5 years. Now, I kind of sprinkled a little bit of that failure aspect in it, but you understand what I mean.
Said this before, and I've said this many times. They are a strong team together. She's a critical partner to this president. She has been for the past 3.5 years, and they have discussions regularly of both domestic and international importance. And this situation is no different. And so he did offer up his advice, and I'll leave it there.
We call her cringe, Jean-Pierre. She's cringy. She don't have a clue on how to run the show. Now, what Trump needs to do is he needs to be just a little bit more specific, not by much. This is a key detail here of attaching Kamala Harris to all the policies that Joe Biden implemented by destroying the border. If she doesn't want to be called the border czar, whatever, you're still attached to the policies and whatever he did down there of allowing fentanyl to pour across, which killed 250,000 Americans. He needs to grab a hold of this aspect because it works in his favor. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris lost over 85,000 children that came here illegally. Now, I'm going to rephrase that because we got a lot of people watching us right now. We got like 400 people alone or more over at Rumble. We're also on YouTube and X. Joe Biden and the Harris campaign lost 85,000 children to sex trafficking and slavery. Where do I get that information? There's whistleblowers that came out about 2 months ago and released this information to the federal government. Donald Trump needs to hold on to that information and call her out, Karine Jean-Pierre, when he's talking. He needs to say, sorry, Kamala. Joe Biden's speaker, meaning Karine Jean-Pierre, says that you're attached to all his policies, Karine. Explain to the American people. Explain why you're allowing this terrible death to roam all across our country. Like, that's how he needs to go about it, and hopefully he does. So he needs to call out that Karine Jean-Pierre said it. Start calling out the people that said it, because when you bring specifics and names, it gives a little bit more credibility to what you're saying. Now, she insists, not me, Karine Jean-Pierre insists that Kamala's recession isn't on the horizon despite the rash of brutal economic news in the recent days.
Turning to the economy in light of the July jobs report, Claudia Sam said that she doesn't think that the country is in a recession right now, but we're getting uncomfortably close to that situation. Does the president, his team agree with that? And what are they doing to prevent that?
So here's what I'll say, and just a couple of things at the top here. While we've seen some volatility, we admit that, we have seen that, our broader economy remains resilient. And we see that because of the data, obviously, that's been coming out over the past, not just couple of months, but the past couple of years. And what we have seen recently is consumers remain resilient and business investment remains strong. Unemployment, while up.
Where are you getting this from?
From 50-year lows is still low at 4.3%. And that's important. You think about
Lord High Executioner, thank you for joining the Bald Brad Show. I see you following us. If you follow us, I get a live Rumble notification. Would be more than happy to call you out. Thank you for joining us. Join us in the live chat, too, if you aren't ready. We got a lot of patriots just lighting up the chat right now.
on inflation, it's down by 2.5%.
She's done right here. It's already the end of the clip. It's not down. Remember, Joe Biden came into office. Trump left him with a 1.4% inflation rate. It jumped to 9.1%, and they keep saying it's down. That would only work, Karine, if it was down below 1.4%. Then I would believe you. But that's a year over year. Remember, all your prices are up 20% minimum. And it's only going to get worse because your Trump tax cuts expire. And not only that, Kamala wants to change your tax brackets. Everybody that's sitting there in the crowd going, yeah, hell yeah, Kamala, fuck yeah. No, you're all going to sit there and get reamed behind from the lady that you're freaking advancing into the Oval Office. And they don't see it. It's a remarkable thing that they'd rather screw over themselves and everybody else because they're so scared of Trump. He's terrible. I'm telling you, their heads are just similar to Joe Biden's. Sometimes it just ain't on straight. And that's why I say sometimes, because sometimes Joe, like we saw at the beginning, will have a Freudian slip and actually speak a little bit of sound logic every now and then. So a reporter kind of calls out the fact of, where's Joe? Like, where's the president? We're basically on the brink of World War III right now. So why have we not heard directly from Joe Biden himself, which is a very constant theme, right? I mean, Joe's pretty much not done any press briefings. I could probably count on one hand because we pretty much cover them all, that he's answered people's questions. They've all been vetted. They've all been pre-scripted. but here she is nonetheless.
Israel could be under attack any moment from Iran. U.S. troops in Iraq were injured yesterday. Why have we not heard directly from President Biden this week?
We got a lot of patriots in the chat. Where's Joe? There you go. Patrick says it. NorCali, where's Joe? I see your eyes. She's so effing full of bleep. Yeah, absolutely. We got to say bleep because we're also on YouTube and X. I mean, we'll get away with it on Rumble, but Rumble takes care of us over here.
We know he met with his team yesterday.
Yep.
We know today's VP Harris's big day, but he's still the president. Where is he?
Well, here's the thing. You have seen the president. He has.
No, we haven't. No, that's why we're asking the question, Karine. We haven't seen the president. We don't know where he's at. Nobody's seen the guy. The dude disappeared for an entire week. We all thought he was dead. What do you mean? Nobody's seen him.
Been very clear about making sure that we continue to try to de-escalate tensions. We just put out two readouts today, a readout yesterday, and our focus right now is to make sure that we continue to try to de-escalate tensions here, and that's what the president has been doing.
Israel.
Bahala, thank you so much for the follow over at Rumble. I see you. Thank you so much. Join us in the live chat, though. Hop in here, folks. If you're going to follow, join us in the live chat. But you don't even know where Joe's at. Remember, we got a lot of new people watching here. We got to bring the receipts from the past, and the receipts is this. There was a lot of talk of a coup happening in the White House before Joe was ever out of it. What do I mean by that? There was some drama, White House drama, going on between her and John Kirby, where John Kirby was getting FaceTime with the president, but she was not. And so that's why they started splitting the podium, 30 minutes for John Kirby, 30 minutes for Karine Jean-Pierre, and she didn't like that, which is why she's calling out the people for John Kirby rather than John Kirby calling out the people for himself. She doesn't know where the president's at. She doesn't get any FaceTime with him. But when she does, remember, you guys, he's sharp. He's fit. He's able to hold office, which was echoed by Kamala Harris's VP pick, Tim Walz, which was an awesome clip, and Trump needs to hold on to that. The fact that Kamala Harris covered up Joe Biden's insanity, that his brain ain't working, his head's not on straight, is already going to be utilized by the Trump campaign. But now the fact that we have the clip of Tim Walz saying, hey, he's fit, he's sharp, he can hold the presidency. By the way, the dude even sit there and clarified with the reporter going, are you talking about the president? And if he's fit to hold office? Oh yeah, no, he's sharp. Yeah, he's great. So both of them believed it. They all covered it up. And that's what we're going to run with. And Democrats will still vote for Kamala Harris, which is insane. Dude, she sat there and lied to all of you for years. And maybe they lied to themselves for all I know. The fact that they actually voted for the guy. So speaking of more lies, here's Karine Jean-Pierre saying that that the Biden administration inherited an economy that was on the downturn. Folks, when Trump was in office and that when he left it, inflation was 1.4%. I got a little bit of stats here for you. Trump left office. Inflation was 1.4%. Gas prices on average was $2.39. Mortgage rates were roughly 2.7%. How does that compare to the Harris administration with Joey? Prices are up 20.1% on average, meaning it's a lot higher in some cases. Gas is roughly 45% higher. It's about 51% in some areas. Mortgage rates remain 7%. Democrats just believe this. I don't know why.
And we understand what the president inherited when he walked in was an economy that was in a downturn. He had to turn that around, and that's what the president was able to do.
He had to turn it around, you guys, and by turning it around, just allow people to go back to work. And then when people go back to work, he takes credits for creating new jobs. Everybody just went back to work. He goes, I created 12 million new jobs. No, you didn't. He couldn't even say 12 million. He was like 12 billion, quadrillion, million. Freaking Joe. Good to have you with us, folks. We're here 6 a.m. every single day, Monday through Friday, bringing you the news and also bringing you the receipts. Karine Jean-Pierre, she celebrates the disastrous Biden-Harris foreign policy, which has brought the world on the brink of war and decimated our national security. According to the CIA, there's over 1,000 terrorists in our country present time. Some of them, we literally know where they live. Some of them, were a part of Benghazi. Do y'all remember that one with Hillary Clinton as a Secretary of State that lied about it in front of Congress with Trey Gowdy and Jason Chaffetz at the helm? Lied straight to their faces and the American people? Yeah, those people that are supposed to be tried for murder in their home country are living here with our own not secret service, our own intelligence community knowing exactly where they live. Folks, the CIA has gone as far to tell these people that they know the license plate of their car. And Kamala Harris has allowed it to happen. Just the other day, she allowed in 99 terrorists on the terrorist watch list. So you know what that means? These people were encountered at the border. They looked at the list and go, huh, is that you? Are you Alza Muhammad? Oh, yeah. Oh, you are. Oh, okay. Yeah, no, come on in. What are you going to vote for, buddy? Who are you going to vote? A Democrat? Nah, come on. You want a flight? You want a flight? Or we're just not going to take you to New York. So.
You have diplomacy. When you talk to your partners and allies, this is a president has been able to get things done, whether it's lowering tensions or whether it's actually getting things done on behalf of our national security, making sure the American people are kept safe, or what needs to happen.
Whoa. Slow down.
What needs to happen in a region, right? And what needs to happen, making sure the American people are kept safe, or making sure the American people are kept safe.
Folks, again, we got a lot of new people watching us. I do real-time reactions. None of this is scripted. This is all off the cuff. Shoot from the hip, baby. None of us are safe. How can you have terrorists here and say, oh, yeah, no, we're safer than ever. Everything's fine. No big deal. Even though the FBI director, Christopher Wray, all of Congress, including like Chuck Grassley, have come out and said, yeah, no alarm bells. We've actually never seen anything like it. We were all around when 9/11 happened, and nothing was even remotely close to the type of alarm bells and sirens that are going off of a terrorist attack possibly happen. And you know what sucks? If Trump is elected into office, quite frankly, with 10 million plus people, I think it's upwards of 15 million illegal aliens pouring into this country, I think there's a great chance of it happening under his administration. And guess what? Democrats will be like, I told you so. He can't run the show. Look what he did. Blah, blah, blah. It's like, why don't you look at the administration before that you guys voted for that allowed all this craziness to happen? And maybe that was the effect that took place here of allowing this to happen. And Trump's trying to clean it up.
Or what needs to happen in a region, right? And in this particular instance, de-escalating tension in a particular region, which is the Middle East. I mean, look, we have seen...
You guys calling her Sideshow Bob. I'm reading the chat. I can't look at it too much because you guys crack me up. PT302, thank you so much for the follow over at Rumble, brother. Thank you so much. Patriots are in the chat. Join them over there. We got a lot of people on YouTube, and we're also on Twitter as well. Follow me on Twitter. You can get all the information. So we're almost through Cringe Jean-Pierre, I promise, and we got a lot of news here, guys. So Cringe Jean-Pierre says last month's jobs numbers, which came in far lower than expectations, by the way, as unemployment surged, represents the steady, stable growth we've called for. I kid you not. It's remarkable how many lies come out of this person's mouth.
What we're seeing is the steady and stable growth we've called for. That's and stable growth we've called for. That's what we're seeing. Talking about the jobs numbers from last week, I believe.
You called for higher unemployment? And by the way, those numbers sometimes aren't legit. So it could be higher unemployment than what we thought. And the reason why I bring that up is because when they talk about like job creation, what they'll do is they'll inflate the numbers and make it seem better than what it actually is to the American people. And then if you look at those same statistics about 2 or 3 weeks later, they've changed them. They give you an inflated number in terms of job creation, and then they lower that number. In some cases by like 76,000 we've seen plus. So those numbers aren't even legit of what they're feeding to the American people. Those are like preliminary numbers. So the same way here, if you have unemployment at 4.7, it very well could be like 5.3. It could be 5%. So be on the lookout for that, folks. A lot of manipulation happening over there from the White House. And I know you know that. I don't need to tell you that. I don't need to preach to the choir. PT302 is my 99-year-old World War II dad. Hi, Dad. Hey, there you go. Shout out. Love that. Love that. Kamala and Biden. Look, and we'll get to the stolen valor of Tim Walz. Oh, we're gonna get there. Look, Friend Jean-Pierre, she sucks. She's terrible. And she said that we wanted to defund the police. The funny thing is, it's Kamala that wants to do that. But she's going to sit there and say that it's us. The manipulation is wild from the Democrats.
We have taken this really seriously. And right now, majority of House Republicans want to defund the police. This
is the same lady that sits there. Trump wants to sit there and get rid of your Medicare and Social Security. And he's like, I don't want to touch Social Security and Medicare. Don't want to touch it. Trump sits there and created Project 2025. Like, I don't even know what the hell Project 2025 is, but I don't even know. I'm not going to support it. I have no clue what it is. Not my thing. So that's what they do. Trump says something, they do the complete and say the complete opposite. This is from yesterday. I only have one clip from yesterday's White House press briefing that's going to lead us into the stolen valor of Tim Walz and kind of more of who this guy is and why Kamala Harris voted for him. So here she is.
The campaign trail. Today, Senator J.D. Vance has accused Governor Walz of stolen valor. I mean, obviously, military service is something that's very deeply personal to the president, given the service of his son. I'm curious, I mean, how is he reacting to these statements?
So look, any specific attacks or comments, I would have to refer you to the campaign. I think when I was answering your colleague Joey's question about Governor Walz, I laid out, and you all have seen his bio, right? This is someone who enlisted at 17 years old to serve his country. He was part of the Army National Guard for 24 years. This is someone who was a high school teacher, right? A high school coach as well, who grew up in a small town in the Midwest. And so I think his bio speaks for itself. Who he is speaks for himself. His record speaks for itself. And I'm just not going to say anything beyond that.
If I may, the campaign
If
trail.
you're wondering what the hell I'm doing, I'm just looking for the answer to the question that was proposed, which is typical from this lady. Folks, $180,000 this lady gets paid. $180,000. And a lot of patriots were pissed off in the chat last week because she came out and said, well, the pay's not that good here. Y'all remember that one? And we're all like, what? What? And the chat was blowing up. $180,000. It just shows you how great America is. The fact that you could sit there and do that type of job and get paid $180,000. DEI hire, which Walz and Kamala are for. DEI hires. So there was a great troll yesterday from JD Vance. And oh God, this is so good. And we're going to watch the whole thing. So Vance basically has his plane fly in on the tarmac and he parks relatively close to Kamala Harris's vice president plane. And the dude walks over there to the reporters while she's still waiting to come off and completely trolls her. And this is so boss, man. This is so cool. Here we go. I love JD. So you're gonna see his crew walking in over here.
I'd come by and one, just get a good look at the plane. Hopefully it's going to be my plane in a few months, but
that's going to be my plane in a few months.
I also thought you guys might get lonely because the vice president doesn't answer questions from reporters and hasn't for 17 days. Have they given you guys an explanation for why she won't take questions from reporters? No?
Crickets. You notice that? Hey, why doesn't she answer your guys' questions or take anything? It's been 18 days since she's taken over the Democrat Party. Like, why has she not sat there and done what he's doing or Trump? We all know why. She's in the basement. She's running the same campaign as Joe Biden is.
Nobody? Okay, great. Well, I hope that she changes her mind because it'd be good for the American people, and I think it'd be good for you all if she actually ran a real campaign instead of one from a basement with a teleprompter. So, have a good one, guys.
Oh, my God. Oh, look at that. Look at that, boss. Somebody needs to drop the freaking Thug Life glasses on JD Vance right here as he's smiling at the camera walking by. Oh, that's so awesome.
See ya. What would you like to hear from her? I'd love her to answer some questions. I'd love her to just answer what she wants to do and also explain why every single position she has changed. She pretends to be a prosecutor, yet she's She pretends to be a tough on crime prosecutor, and yet here she is wanting to defund the police. She's the bulldozer, yet she's opened up the American southern border. This is a person who has to answer the questions from the media, and it's disgraceful that she runs for you guys. It's also insulting to the American people. But anyway, we're going to go do our...
I love that. Oh, God, he's so good. He is so good. So that was J.D. Vance, and it only gets better for him. So Senator J.D. Vance was stuck into an NBC reporter during a brief exchange on Wednesday, calling him out for the DNC talking point, inspired framing of the question before delivering his response. So here's J.D. calling out that reporter just yesterday, which is freaking phenomenal. This is what we wanted to see. A lot of us here, at least for my audience, wanted, a variety of different VP picks, but we wanted primarily Vivek Ramaswamy because Vivek could sit there and carry forward and take on the media. But so can J.D. Vance. J.D. Vance does a phenomenal job in taking on the media each and every day.
Sir. Jared Hake from NBC News. You have repeatedly suggested only reason Kamala Harris didn't pick Josh Shapiro to be her running mate is because of his Jewish faith. Do you have any evidence to support that assertion that a person who's married to a Jewish man is somehow anti-Semitic or bowing to anti-Semites?
Well, I reject the premise of the question. I did not say that that was the only reason that Kamala Harris didn't choose Josh Shapiro. So you should, take a little less DNC talking points when you ask your questions and ask a real question.
Yes.
I have suggested that Kamala Harris was motivated, or at least her party was motivated by anti-Semitism. And the evidence that I offer for that is what dozens of Democratic activists said in the run-up to her selecting her nominee. There were multiple grassroots activists, multiple media personalities, multiple people with influence in the Democrat Party who suggested that she should not choose Josh Shapiro because of his ethnic background. And look, I don't care what your ethnic background is. I know Donald Trump doesn't care what your ethnic background is. I do not want to live in a country where we're choosing who the next VP is based on skin color or ethnic heritage. Choose based on merit. And the fact that so many prominent leaders in the far left felt empowered to talk about Shapiro's ethnic heritage is a disgrace. And I think it's a scandal for the Democrat Party. Yes, I
mean, Democrat Party is unrecognizable. There is still recognizability within that party. What I mean by this is they've always been for race, right? I mean, they're the party of the Ku Klux Klan. They're the party of anti-civil rights. Remember, it was the Republican Party votes that implemented the civil rights. So they've already been for this whole metaphorical plantation because they couldn't sit there and have slavery anymore. So how are they going to keep people of color oppressed and all these other things? Well, they got to keep them on a metaphorical plantation by sitting there and indoctrinating them at a young age through our education system and the mainstream media, as well as just the entertainment industry. And so when they come out as adults, they think the Republicans are the racist. They think Republicans are all these things. And so because Republicans in their mind are suppressing everybody, they need to institute this diversity, equity, and inclusion agenda to sit there and uplift people of color or some sort of minority group and actually be racist against other people. It's a remarkable thing from the Democrat Party, but they've been doing it for quite some time, and it's only going to increase there. Case in point, Kamala Harris. Case in point, Jean-Pierre. Case in point, just everything they've been doing the last few days. So here he is, J.D. Vance again, talking about when he was in the Marine Corps and asked me to go to Iraq to serve my country, he did it. And this is a jab at what's been going on with Tim Walz the last 24 hours.
When the United States Marine Corps, when the United States of America asked me to go to Iraq to serve my country, I did it. I did what they asked me to do it, and I did it honorably, and I'm very proud of that service. When Tim Walz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him, a fact that he's been criticized for aggressively by a lot of the people that he served with. I think it's shameful when the United States...
God, he's good, isn't he? Isn't he good? And you know what? It's not prideful. It's not over the top. He's not yelling at anybody. He's just calm, just saying it like it is, bringing facts to the American people. Oh, thank you, Shell54. Great coverage. No, thank you so much for being in here. Really, it's not about me. It's about you guys and bringing the news and hanging out as a community of patriots. The main thing about this channel is calling it the hypocrisy of the left. It's showing you the receipts, showing you the news, and not injecting too much of my opinion in there. And you know what? Hanging out as a community of patriots and conservatives in the live chat. We got an awesome community here that join us. A lot of regulars join us each and every morning. Again, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So a little bit about Tim Walz, and then we'll ravel still into his stolen valor stuff. Because yesterday, we probably went over 25 things this guy's for that are outlandish, that are absolutely crazy. Again, If you're just joining us, really check out yesterday's episode. It's a phenomenal one. It tells you everything you need to know about this guy because this dude is psycho, you guys. I'm not one of those conservative Republicans that just throws name calling around. I am telling you, this guy is insane. Wants full-fledged non-citizens to vote. He doesn't want borders. He wants babies to be killed after they survived abortion. So if you're like pro-choice on the Republican side of the aisle, this dude wants to kill babies after they've survived abortion. There's a laundry list of things. He wants your kids to be trans. He wants your kids to learn how to masturbate at a 2nd and 3rd grade level through cartoons. I mean, what this guy is for is just crazy. And now, as Somali gangs wage war and traffic children in Minnesota, well, what'd he do? He asked for more Somali refugees. Makes sense because the Democrat Party lost 85,000 children to sex trafficking and slavery already just under the Biden-Harris administration. It would make sense after everything we've seen that this guy wants to do to children in the education system, where he's to the point where if you don't sit there and affirm through gender affirming care your child's gender, so if they're a boy and they think they're a girl, yeah, this guy wants to remove your kids from you, just to let you know. So if he wants to do that with his own state, what do you think he wants to do at a federal level, you guys? What do you think he wants to do? Yeah, remove your kids. And without you knowing, wants to indoctrinate your kids in the education system and through the mainstream media and the entertainment industry. That's what this dude wants to do in conjunction with Kamala Harris, and it's only going to get worse. These people are so far left, man. It is wild. As Somali refugees in Minnesota waged gang wars and engaged in child sex trafficking, this dude pushed for even more refugees to be resettled in his state. He's for sanctuary cities. We covered the clip here 2 days ago. This guy's for sanctuary cities, which is crumbling the infrastructure within these cities. We've talked about how Chicago and New York City, specifically Mayor Eric Adams of New York, was calling for this $1 billion fund from the federal government as a state of emergency because he couldn't handle like 20,000 illegal immigrants. You guys remember that from like a year and a half ago? He gets 20,000 illegal immigrants. It's crippling their infrastructure. They don't know what to do. They don't know how to handle it. All the while, Governor Greg Abbott in Texas is sitting there getting 20,000 people a day, and he's handling it a day. Chicago couldn't even handle 20,000 for a year of an immigration. What I mean by that is Texas gets 20,000 a day. Chicago, in a span of a year, gets 20,000, and they didn't know what to do. Completely crumbling their infrastructure. But these people would rather have this whole thing of gang warfare, sex trafficking, hundreds of millions of dollars of fraud, a state being ran over completely like Black Lives Matter and Antifa back in 2020 or prior. These people are insane, I'm telling you. God. You got to get out and vote, man. I know you're hearing that a lot. There's no red wave, you guys. The rays are thin, the polls are wish-washy. Actually, the most recent poll, 13 recent polls came out, and Kamala Harris is actually beating Trump right now. Now, whether you believe that or not, don't matter. If grandma's in a wheelchair her to those polls and make sure she gets in that Trump vote because they're going to do everything they did in 2020 all over again. Nothing's changed. So all that foolery that took place in 2020, nobody looked under the hood. They did recounts. They didn't do audits. And for those that are just joining us, I was an auditor before, as a public accountant before, as well as a tax accountant for majority of my accountancy. No audit was done. No forensic audit was done. Nobody looked under the hood. And all that shenanigans, it's just going to happen again. And so what he want to do, you would think, oh, you know what? We want to make sure we protect the children. We want to make sure that we protect everybody. Nope. He signed a bill stripping anti-pedophile language from Minnesota's Human Rights Act. Oh, it just gets worse. This guy wants to teach your kids how to use butt plugs and condoms in the elementary school system. It just keeps getting worse for this guy. Tim Walz signed a law last year that removed language clarifying that pedophiles were excluded from the definition of sexual orientation. Y'all remember that one? It was buried by the media, but it was there. Walz tapped as Vice President Harris's running mate, prompting scrutiny of his progressive record on LGBT and other issues. Why are they leaving out the LGBTQIA++ minus alphabet soup? Weird. So here he is with that picture. We covered this one. Look at this picture. Look at this guy. Walz at his signing of legislation to make Minnesota a sanctuary for children who want transgender medical interventions last year. I don't know what it is with this party of when they transitioned to covering the idea that it's gender affirming care to sit there and tell a child that they're a girl when in fact they're a biological man or male. We said yesterday, I equate it to if there's somebody with schizophrenia and they're out there talking to a group of people that physically don't exist, like you're looking, nobody's there, but they're having full-fledged conversations with people. would you sit there and tell your friend, neighbor, family member, some dude just randomly on the street, yeah, hey, who you talking to? What are their names? I want to join the conversation. No, I'm going to affirm it. Yeah, no, I see them too. I see them and hear them as well. Yes. Oh, it's Jenny, John, Jacob. Oh, okay. That's cool. How'd you meet them? Yeah, no, it's crazy. I know all you know that. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but it's in the news. So here he is yesterday getting reamed by not just Republicans, but anybody that served in the military was reaming this guy. Now, I think the backlash that came on him should have came about a month ago. And what do I mean by that? We uncovered a story here from the Department of Homeland Security's advisory board, where they said if you are a Trump supporter, and I'm almost quoting this exactly, by the way, if you're a Trump supporter, if you've ever served in the military or are religious, you were deemed by the Department of Homeland Security under the Biden-Harris administration to be a terror risk in your own country. I'm going to say that again because we have over 1,000 people watching us right now. If you are a Trump supporter, which basically makes you a Republican or conservative, if you've ever served in the military, we got a lot of veterans that watch this show. Neil's one of them. And if you are a religious person, which is probably the majority of us are somewhat religious, yet you're deemed a terror risk in your own country. But yet, you know, all those illegals that are pouring across the border that we know are on the terror watch list, not a big deal. But you're an existential threat to your own country. Trump is a threat to democracy. Let that one sink in. Remember how they sat there and said Trump was a threat to democracy for weeks and months, heck, even years at this point? But yet the same party that said that we're a threat to democracy didn't actually use democracy to implement Kamala Harris as a Democrat Party nominee. Let that one sink in. The hypocrisy is wild, isn't it, Patriots? That they sat there, they're going to destroy the Republic. They don't follow the Constitution. They're a threat to democracy. Sorry, I should be like this. The threat to democracy. But yet they don't use democracy for their own implementation of their own candidate for the next president, potentially, of the United States. It's just funny how that all works out. So the same way here, social media flooded with pictures of vets serving country after he ducked combat in Iraq. Folks, this is wild. Now, I said yesterday I wasn't sure if I was going to cover this or not, but it's too big. So social media flooded with pictures of veterans serving the country following reports of Democrat vice presidential nominee Tim Walz ducking combat in Iraq. So on Wednesday, Twitter blew up. So you have here posts that read, "Me not being Tim Walz." So that's basically the viral portion of what took place there, with veterans from the previous branches of the U.S. military posting pictures of them deployed around the world. The pictures take place in the air and cockpits, war-torn countries, next to armored vehicles, battlefields. And so you got Kurt here, vets, post your photo of you not being Tim Walz. I mean, dude, you guys, it was bazonkers yesterday, all the posts that were taking place. Look at all these vets, though. Love you. If you're a veteran here, we support vets big time. And look, I've lost my lid a little bit. And by losing my lid, I've gone berserk on live stream on how the Biden-Harris administration have treated our veterans. The goal for me, as I've mentioned, if we ever get big enough here, my goal for me is to support veterans. I'm talking about giving money, but we got to make money here first. But look at all these guys. Look at all these patriots. So if you went on X, this was just relentless. A third person wrote, "Here's my National Guard son in the armored cave in Iraq," not being Tim Walz. So allegedly the dude sat there and dodged deployment. And it's not just our thinking. So this isn't one of those things where it's like, oh, well, this is just a Republican talking point. Republicans just pulled this out of their you-know-what, like Democrats tend to do with their talking points. No. His own people that he was supposed to go on deployment with said the guy dodged it. So you have that for that guy. I mean, everywhere you turn for this guy, he's a radical lefty. And you know what's funny is they sit there and they say all these things that are great about Tim Walz, all these things. And then they say all these bad things about J.D. Vance and Donald Trump, and they don't have a clue who they are. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, Nancy Pelosi here had no clue. I mean, honest to God, I shouldn't be shocked. I really shouldn't, because she doesn't have a clue on anything anymore. She had no clue that J.D. Vance, a Marine who deployed to Iraq, served in the military, but they're still going to puppet this corpse out and sit there and espouse nonsense on the media, and Democrats are going to sit there 4 more years of Harris. 4 more years. Yeah, we love Harris. I know you guys, I can't wrap my head around it either, you guys. I listen to all the same stuff the Democrats do, and I could sit there and call out the bullshit. Sorry for cussing. If you got kids in the car, I apologize, but it needed to be said. So while Democrats wax, while Democrats wax equivalent about Governor Tim Walz and his service in the Army National Guard, despite the fact that he left his unit hanging and took a default demotion in order to avoid a combat tour, some of them are still blissfully unaware that his political opponent, I know it's shocking, J.D. Vance, served in Iraq with the U.S. Marines. So here it is. I mean, oh my, I can't wrap my head around it. These people are going on CNN, and look at Jim Acosta. Can you believe Jim Acosta got a freaking role at CNN? I guess so. Jim, you're disgusting. You're rude, Jim. Sit down, Jim. Sit down. Y'all remember 2020 plus 2016, 2020, this shenanigans? Well, here they are. He served in the military? What?
Well, here is Tim Walz, who enlisted when he was 17 years old. He served in the National Guard for 24 years. And I'm not aware of any military service that J.D. Vance has ever served. So let's just make the comparison there. And what happened I'm not aware of any military service that J.D. Vance has ever served. So let's just make the comparison there. And what happened in the tragedy of the killing of George
Marines,
Floyd and then the unrest. Yeah, okay, pardon me for that.
Hey, kudos to him. I'm so sorry. Again, if you're just joining us, guys, I don't watch these ahead of time. You get a real-time reaction from me. I just love how he tries to step in there. Well, he was in the Marines. Hold on.
Floyd and then the tragedy of the killing of George Floyd and then the unrest.
Oh, well, my bad. Like, doesn't that discredit everything that you were just talking about prior? The fact that you didn't know that he was in there, but you're going to espouse all this nonsense, which tells us you don't know what the hell you're talking about, and you're going on national television. So what more stuff do we have here in terms of Tim Walz? Well, folks, he doesn't necessarily guarantee you free speech. Oh, that's just lovely. Oh, goody. There's no guarantee to free speech. Wants government pushback on hate speech. Now, what's hate speech here, according to the Democrat Party? Well, that's just any speech that they don't agree with. Remember that the Harris and Biden, this went so under the rug. I can't believe nobody talks about this. The Biden-Harris administration wanted to put forth what was called a Ministry of Truth. And I believe, if I have this correctly, and I'm reaching back in my own memory, it was headed by DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas in a way that they basically wanted to scour information for those that were peddling what was classified, according to the Biden-Harris administration and the Democrat Party and the bureaucrats, these elites, the deep state. They wanted to classify what you were saying as conservative Republicans as misinformation and disinformation. Now, what's the difference? Misinformation is when you put something out there to your audience that you're not aware of that is wrong. So if I gave you some sort of statistic out there that hasn't been updated, maybe it's from 20 years and there's a recent one that I didn't know about that maybe changed the trajectory of that narrative, well, then that would be misinformation. But if I gave you the same statistic and I knew that it was wrong, I knew there was an updated one, and I withheld that from you, that would be disinformation. The problem is that they conflate the two, and anything we say, according to cringe Jean-Pierre, the Biden-Harris administration, remember, they're cheap fakes. They're deep fakes. That came out from cringe Jean-Pierre. A lot of people don't realize, on that clip with cringe Jean-Pierre, she said cheap fakes about 2 or 3 times with Peter Doocy. But if you listen to the tail end of that clip, she does in fact say deep fakes, that we're altering this stuff. We're not altering anything. We have to cut it up because I'm not going to watch an hour long of cringe Jean-Pierre speak a bunch of nonsense to my viewers. I don't want to subject you to that kind of torture. They can leave that to the Democrat Party, waterboarding themselves with that nonsense. So Tim Walz says there's no guarantee to free speech when it comes to misinformation or hate speech. That's wild. Y'all see this logo up here? Yeah, that's my logo I made. That microphone, that's free speech, backed by my Second Amendment. You ain't taking away my free speech, no way in hell. So you have this here. We're not going to play the clip because, quite frankly, I don't want to hear that guy speak. But he said, I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech. Yes, there is. Quite literally. Yes, that is the whole embodiment of free speech. Free speech allows a society, a republic, to sit there and seek after truth and call out through debate and conversation, speech, Tim, that what is truth and what is false. And you have to leave it up to the republic, we the people, to decide what is truth and what is false. We need to leave it up to the people to decide what is hate speech, misinformation, disinformation. Just because you don't like something somebody says, don't listen to them. Walk away, debate them, have a conversation. But the Democrat Party, the progressive left, these liberal elites don't want to do that. They just want to shut you down on conversation that you don't like, which is why we're over here at Rumble. That's why Dylan's taking care of us over at Rumble. Look, you know what? I give a lot of credit to the guy because he sat there, he found our channel, he spotlights us, he takes care of us, and that's why I call him out all the time, because I'm grateful. I'm loyal to those that take care of me, and I want to take care of them as well. I see all of you over at YouTube. We haven't forgot about YouTube, but Rumble, look, that's our home. That's our home. Rumble is for free speech, and that's why we do a lot of advertisements, reads from them about their apparel, their coffee, their brands, because they back free speech, and that's what we're here. That's what we're here all about. Democrat Party, they want to silence you guys. I mean, remember in COVID that they're going after our pastors and our priests? They're going after people at synagogues for preaching the word of God, Christ is king? Locking them up? I mean, hell, you bought a hot dog 8 blocks away from January 6th, the Capitol. They locked you up. They don't like what you have to say. Oh, no, no, no. To give you guys a comparison, we got over 1,000 people watching over at Rumble. Let me give you a comparison of how we're being shadow banned on YouTube, because we have a lot of new viewers. Isn't that crazy? I see you, Craig. Yeah, we got 1,000 patriots watching us, and we're only growing. For those on Rumble, give you a comparison, and I'm not complaining. I just want to let you know how bad we're being shadow banned on YouTube. Right now, we have over 1,000 people watching us over at Rumble. We have 854 followers on Rumble right now, with 1,000 viewers plus. I have 63,000 plus subscribers over at YouTube, and we have currently 55 people watching. They're shadow banning us big time, and the patrons in the chat will tell you how much. That's why they're all over here. So why don't we check this out? I'd probably die if Democrats understood our rights and how they work. So let's just see the clip from Tim Walz. We got time. Why not? Let's show a little bit of the receipts here of this psychopath.
I think we need to push back on this. There's no guarantee to free speech on misinformation or hate speech, and especially around our democracy.
That should scare the crap out of everybody, by the way. When you have somebody that's a vice president saying there's no guarantee in free speech, and they're about to be potentially elected in conjunction with Kamala Harris, who would believe the same thing because she's radical left, that's when you start crippling a democracy. That's when you start crippling a republic, to be more specific. And for those that are here, we have a book, Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. I mean, can you not see it more in real time right now? It's a timely book. It will always be a timely book because that's what the left want to do. Now, NBC here has a phenomenal clip about Tim Walz and his abandonment of the National Guard. Check this out.
Is pointing out two things. Number one, that Walz basically left his unit, which no one really disputes, in 2005,
which no one really disputes.
Before that unit was set to be deployed to Iraq. Walz was planning to run for Congress. The Harris campaign points out all the nice things he did for veterans and on the VA committee once he was in Congress. But the fact that he did not go serve in Iraq, which J.D. Vance himself did, albeit as a public affairs officer in the U.S. Marines, is a point that they are trying to make. And also, they're seizing on a comment that Walz has used in the past to suggest that certain weapons should not be in the hands of regular people. Weapons like what he carried in war is the quote from Walz. Vance seizing on that and saying, you were never in war, Tim Walz, so what are you talking about there? And the Harris campaign has responded to that too as well, pointing out that Walz both carried, trained, and is deeply familiar with the types of weapons we're talking about here, regardless of having never used them in combat. Vance is pointing out,
why is this so important? And to put up what we just talked about with the First Amendment, and then going into this about the whole idea that he has stolen valor, according to a lot of people, and talking about weapons of war, is because Kamala Harris and the Biden administration currently want to sit there and remove your Second Amendment rights. It's not going to happen overnight. They're going to start chiseling away at it, and they've been doing it for quite some time. Thank you so much, Alan, for the $5. Maybe you should get your beeping lie straight, Tina. Go Cav. I don't know what that means, but thank you so much for the $5, Alan. Couldn't be more than happy to have you here with us. Thank you again. Maybe you should get your bleeping lie straight, Tina. I don't know who Tina is. Alan, let us know in the chat. Who the hell's Tina? Maybe, is it Tina Tim? Is Tim Tina? Maybe. So they want to chisel away your Second Amendment rights. Before, if you recall, for a while, Democrat Party would not actually say what they meant by assault weapons ban. but Joe Biden has referred to it many times now for the past 4, 5 years, maybe even going on 6, that what he means by that is semi-automatic firearms. And there's been clips about it. He's quoted in various articles saying exactly what he means. You need to take that and transfer it now to weapons of war. I've always said, what do they mean by that? They're always broad in what they mean by weapons of war. Folks, a belt could be a weapon of war. You could strangle a dude out with a belt for a weapon of war. A helmet could be a weapon of war. Probably Joe Biden should be wearing a helmet. God, the guy falls over everywhere. Up a flight of stairs, down a flight of stairs. I mean, it could be anything. Knives. Look what's going on in the UK. We got a patriot over there at the United Kingdom, Shib, who tends to watch over at YouTube, longtime supporter of the show. They're stabbing people left and right over there in his home country. They don't have weapons. They don't have firearms. And they want to sit there and take away. The second they take away your firearms, folks, you got no First Amendment. Matter of fact, you don't have any rights. And if your government goes usurpacious on you, which tends to happen in republics and democracies, we're an outlier in the terms of human history of outlasting every other democracy and republic that's ever existed. We're an outlier. The closer we become to collapsing as a nation, as a country. And you need that firearm to protect you and your family. Obviously through a home invasion or whatever. But obviously, if you have a government like your own, go usurpacious on your own people. The fact that the Jews didn't have weapons and their own government went usurpacious on them is why they're now ashes. But the Democrat Party can't wrap that around their mind. They think it's for hunting, you guys. I think it's for sport. There you go, Dizzy. Dizzy's always in there. Folks, that's why Dizzy's over at Rumble and not YouTube. I see y'all over at YouTube as well. I'm running both chats right now. Folks, you can say what you want over at Rumble. YouTube, you got to be a little bit more careful. They'll sit there and get rid of us. So here's NBC saying the Walz-Harris campaign is not engaging directly on whether or not Walz was falsifying his military information.
I get the sense that the Harris campaign is ready for these attacks, but I have to tell you, Kristen, they're not engaging directly on whether or not he was falsifying his record, his military record. They are, of course, as you said, pointing out that he does have a history of service, both in the National Guard, but also as a teacher, as someone who was a governor, as someone who was a congressional member. So they're sort of leaning in on the fact that he's someone who wants to serve America. And yesterday, when he was in Philadelphia, he was also making that point, saying that they want this to be a people-powered campaign and a people-centered administration if they are elected to the White House. But it's very interesting to see them say, yes, he does have a sort of a long history in the military and join.
Dizzy, Big Weave and Dizzy, am I seeing that correct? Big Weave with the $5. Thank you so much. Waltz is a scumbag. I keep saying Waltz, like Walt Disney. Walz is a scumbag. What a POS. Based on yesterday, what we covered in today, brother, absolutely, man. Thank you so much for the $5. And then Dizzy and Def. Dude, I almost had a heart attack. I had to pause the video for a second. Look, everyone's like, even Jason's like, wow, Dizzy. $100 over. That is one of the biggest donations. There's only been one other person that's ever given that much money. Thank you, man. We love America. F tyranny. Damn right, brother. Give you a salute to that one. Keeping the lights on here for us, man. Damn. So thank you so much, Big Weave and Dizzy. Thank you. I appreciate it. And Alan for the $5. Look, you guys, Bidenomics is here. Kamala-nomics is what they're calling it now, is here. You guys giving your hard-earned money to a patriot here. It all goes back into the show. Greatly appreciated, man. Thank you so much. God bless you.
Joined at 17, has trained people who did go into combat zones, is what one source told me, but also is not engaging directly on whether or not he falsified here.
Whether or not he was falsifying his military record. It sounds like he was. It sounds like he was kind of bigly. Okay, yeah. In other news here, there was a terror plot that took place. Now, I'm not a Swiftie fan, and I'm not really into like this pop culture stuff, which is why we don't really cover it here on the show. We cover politics. But the reason I want to bring this up is because it has to do with ISIS. And now ISIS coming back. If you recall, a guy by the name of Barack Obama that gave $1.7 billion cash to the Iranians, which is the leading funder of terror across the globe. Yeah, the Democrats are... If I just do a side rant, if you're new here to the show, we do a lot of side rants. Joe Biden is giving the Taliban, you can look this up yourself, $87 million a week. I'm going to say this again. Joe Biden is giving the Taliban $87 million a week to guys and families that fought against U.S. troops for 20 plus years over there. Yeah. Not to mention, he's giving the Iranians $10 billion of humanitarian aid, which is fungible money. I don't know what it is with Democrats giving these terrorist organizations or sympathizers a bunch of our money. But now, Barack Obama, who priorly called the ISIS psychopaths, these evil killers, the JV squad, Donald Trump wiped them out because that's what he does. He puts America first and he protects us. Now they're coming back under Biden's regime. Taylor Swift's 3 nights of concert in Austria have been canceled following the arrest of 2 suspects who reportedly had ties to ISIS, with plans to carry out a concert attack, probably similar to what we saw in Russia, where those guys were mowing over a bunch of people, which is a terrible, terrible video to watch. So on Wednesday, the Austrian concert promoter for the Eras tour said due to government officials' confirmation of planned terrorist attack, they shut it down. With confirmation from the government officials of a planned terrorist attack at the stadium, we have no choice but to cancel the 3 scheduled shows for everyone's safety. Absolutely. I mean, why would you not? When you have that type of stuff, it's funny that there's more security for Taylor Swift than there is for Donald Trump. It's crazy to me that they have these plots being taken place. They get wind of it, and so they cancel the event, even though Donald Trump has a target on his head from the Iranians and other people to the point where he had an assassination attempt on him, which we covered here live. If you want to see that video, we were covering the Trump rally live when it happened. So if you want to see my reaction, that is there. We were here as a community, and our jaws dropped when that one. Wild stuff. Well, folks, that is our show. A lot of new people. Thank you so much for joining us. We go live every single morning, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time, for an hour-long podcast. We're always here to bring you the news, the major headlines, everything you need to know about, uncover the truth of what's going on out there with the Democrat Party and how they're manipulating the American people, and we cover their hypocrisy. We call it out and expose it in real time. We're a community of conservatives and patriots. If you want to join us, we're here each and every day. We got a lot of listeners, a lot of followers. Couldn't be more than happy for the 1,000+ patriots in the live stream with us today. Dylan, thank you so much for your support and always taking care of us as well as our community. We really do appreciate it here on the Bald Brad channel. I see all of you, Danielle, his servant, Lulu. I see all you patriots over at YouTube. Please don't think that I'm leaving you out. I see you guys over there. I can run and see both chats at the same time. Thank you, Krager, for the great show. And thank you guys for always hanging out with me. That's what this is all about. It's the community that we have here, and we will keep this community going strong. If you want to get in here, hit us a follow. It's absolutely free. You do not need to give us any money. You just hanging out with us each and every day. That's what it's all about, folks. And with that being said, we'll be back here tomorrow with another episode of the Bald Brad Show. Again, 6 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. Patriots, take care of yourselves. Make sure you call your friends and family. Tell them you love them. Offer up a prayer for this country. And folks, I'll see you tomorrow here on the Bald Brad Show. Take care, Patriots.